Hi guys, so I have had a few requests over the last few months to show how I paint my dolls. Now the lighting's a little bit odd in here because I've actually got a really good white light coming down on my display area, but the actual room's not very lit very well, so I'm not sure whether you'll be able to see the colours that good, but you'll still see what I'm doing. Okay, so what I'm working on at the moment, I'm working on the hand of this limb here. So I've done a little bit more underneath than I have on top, but just adding some of the reddening and everything. So that's what I'm going to be doing, just building another layer of this. So what I do, because this arm is bent, these two I'm not actually painting at the moment, but they're there waiting, ready. I've been using this cup just to keep it up like that. So what I have is, this is a Silpig 9 colour sample pot. 9 or 8? 8. You can get 9s as well. So the colours that I'm going to be using for this is the red, and I also have a bottle of red oxide as well. So this I just got from my local barn store. I think this cost like $8 for the whole thing, and when you see how much paint you use, this will last forever, I swear. I also have a toothpick and a piece of paper towel to wipe the toothpick on. I have a squirty bottle here of odourless thinners. I've got my plastic tray, I've got my latex sponge in the middle. I'm not actually using it at the moment, but that's a really good shape. That's where I store it. This is the paintbrush that I'm currently using, just a nice little thin one. And then the silicone. Now I've actually got it in the drawer because I keep the tubes upside down so they squeeze out. I don't have to wait and tip them up and for the silicone to come down. So what I've got is, that's part B and this is part A. This is, what I'm painting with is Dragon Skin medium 10, which is basically like EcoFlex 30 in terms of its softness. But with this one I have about a 20-minute working time, whereas using a Platsil 10 or Gel 00, you only have a 5-minute working time. So I much prefer painting with these ones, and I use the Platsil for sealing. So what I'm going to do, squeeze in a little bit of my two parts. I'm not going to need much. Oh, I'm painting the front of the hand as well. Ah, I forgot a step. So while my B just sits there, nothing's going to happen to it until I add the A, which is the catalyst. I just like to check to see whether any lint has accumulated on my hand, because it's fairly freshly painted. There shouldn't be too much, but I also have a set of tweezers here. Lint is very sticky, and if you rub your paintwork, one, you can add inhibitors to it and then your next layer won't stick, and two, you can actually rub off your old layer and then you'll have peeling problems. So if there are any tiny fine bits of lint or anything, I'm in a really linty area. Well, I say the word lint, but it's actually, I live next to a main road, so I think it's actually carbon and everything the cars kick up, and that I'm forever wiping stuff down. Okay, that's actually all clean. It's part B, and then I put in a little squirt, a little bit more. Part A, I'm just going to make sure you guys can still see what I'm doing. You probably can't see exactly how much I've put in there, just a tiny little bit. Then I take my odourless solvents and I just put in just 2 drops today. Now with my toothpick, I just make sure there's no residue on it, I wipe it all off. I want to add a little bit of this red oxide. So my previous layers have just been using this colour. This next layer I want to add a little bit more red in as well. And I just mix all that up together. Now if I go and dip that back into my paint, I'm adding silicone back to my paint, and ultimately you'll end up setting your paint, and it's wasting then all your good paint. So you can either get a new toothpick, or you do what I do. I wipe it on this piece of paper, a piece of paper towel I should say, and I wipe it clean so there's no silicone on it. And then I'm also going to add a tiny little bit of red. Now your strongest colour is blue, followed by red. So when you're doing veins and things like that, like I've blued the palm of this hand and added a few veins, use the tiniest bit of blue. Okay, that made that just a little bit more red, so I'm going to wipe that off now. I don't need them anymore, so I'm just going to cover them up. You don't want anything falling in there. And then with my paintbrush, you can use a larger one, but with silicone, your paintbrushes won't last very long regardless of how well you clean them. So I don't like to use a brush to stir and then a brush to then apply, because you just go through way too many brushes. So make sure it's all combined. You don't want any parts that aren't. And I always, I'm not sure if you can see, I always roll my brush as well. So I roll it off the brush and re-stir. Okay, that's my paint mix. That's about the colour that I want. Not too strong. It's just another little layer. This paintbrush is starting, I think, to get towards the end of its life. And there's just select areas. I'm just going to add a little bit of paint too. The camera's probably pulling this up a lot redder than it actually is. Cameras tend to do that. They make things a lot more red than they actually are. But I can't actually see the screen at the moment. Not 100% sure. I'm just going to do, this will probably be one of the last layers for the palm of the hand that I will need. The palm of the hand is almost done. Sorry, I'm not going to talk much, guys. This does require a certain level of concentration. You probably almost hear my TV in the background if you've got your volume up loud enough. Watching the tennis at the moment, the Australian Open. This pinky likes to pick up the lint. I think it's because it's on the outside. You may recognise these limbs if you've been watching my channel for a while. This is Brooklyn by Angela Lewis. Brooklyn was the very first kit I started painting in terms of silicone. Ah, can't hear lint. And I just had a lot of trouble with my Brooklyn kit, but it was my first painting attempt, so I wasn't too disheartened. But a few months back, I'd had it with the kit. I just wanted to put it away, which I did. Put it away, packed it up, didn't touch it for a few months. I'd just become so frustrated with it. And I brought the kit back out again. I've stripped it right down. So these limbs over here are just about completely stripped. There's a few odd specks of red mottling on the leg that is still visible, but I stripped it really harshly and that paint did not come off at all, so it's very well stuck down, and that doesn't bother me because I'll be going over and doing a similar mottling anyway. So you can see that if you want to spend a bit of time on your paintwork, you do need silicone that isn't going to cure really quickly, because otherwise you'll just run out of time. Okay, that is almost, I think, the palm done. There's probably a little bit more of the fingers I want to do, but that's almost all the colouring on the palm that I want to do for this particular limb. So this is layer number 2 for the back of the hand. Did another layer last night which was just filling in the lines. So now I'm just going through and darkening specific spots. And if you've painted vinyl dolls before, you'll notice one thing with silicone is you don't need to always be remixing your tray. The colour doesn't separate from the silicone like Genesis paints will when you're painting vinyl, which is always handy. It's a bit overcast today as well. I haven't got good natural light coming in. Now, I won't always paint all the way around the hand at once. I sometimes will do one side and then the other. So I'm just, for example, darkening up these knuckles ever so slightly. But in the next layer, I'll just do the top, so it means I can support the fingers underneath as well. I've much more enjoyed painting Brooklyn this time around, now that I've just stripped the kit right down and having a lot more success this time around, which is good. I wasn't going to strip the head because I actually really like some of the paintwork on the head that I did. Some really pretty veining and pretty mottling. But if I paint all these limbs and the paintwork on the head just doesn't match the limbs, I'll probably strip the head and redo the head. I don't like the ears. The ears are definitely getting redone, and there's a patch of cheek as well that I might fix. Okay, that's actually nearing. There's probably another 1 to 2 layers I'm going to do on the fingers, but the actual hand and most of all of that's now completely done. In terms of the layers of paint, I don't really need to do much more with it. There we go. So I've got paint on both sides now. I figured out a little bit of a trick over here to I just place it there for now because I need to clean my brush first. So I've got this little pot. I think a closed pot would be better because my odorless solvents keep evaporating. Just put some in there and then I give my brush a really good clean. And then I get a piece of paper towel, my bin over there, but these old bits of paper towel are great for it. And give my brush a really good wipe. So the paint in there you just let cure now, like for example this blue is all cured, so once it's cured you can just peel it off and then you've got a nice clean tray again. You don't want to be using anything that's glass. Glass has silica in it, which is obviously the base for silicone, and silicone can stick to silica product, so if you're using glass you can actually have a big issue with it. But that's basically it. Don't need that anymore, and I need to put the lid back on that. Now I can let that cure. Off the top of my head, I think cure time for it's like an hour and a half. Or what I'm going to go and do is I'm going to go pop that limb in the oven. I've got a baking tray with a tea towel, and then on top of that is a sheet of greaseproof paper like I've got here. It's got set silicone on it. And in an oven on about 120 degrees for, I do about 15 minutes. And I've got a little ramekin that this sits on so nothing touches the hand while it sets. And then I get it out of the oven and just let it cool completely. That can take about half an hour. If you're obviously in a colder climate, it will cool down quicker. And then you can then go ahead with the next layer. So yeah, that's just the process I go about painting, and it's just layer after layer, doing things like that to build up the definition. Alright, thanks guys, and I'll catch you later.